Good morning, everyone, or whatever time it is that you're tuning in. We're so grateful that you are joining us today. So I'm going to get started. We're going to talk about contracts today, which are an absolute foundational part of your business. Every business should have some type of contracts in place as you are conducting business with customers, clients, as you're collaborating with other businesses. And I think a lot of times we are so excited about starting our business and getting things off the ground that we sometimes miss that opportunity to get those foundational pieces in place. So I'm going to do my best to share my screen. And there we go. All right, so we're just going to hop right on into it. Okay, so let's get to presentation mode here. All right, very good. So we're going to talk about why contracts matter, some of the must-have portions of a contract, what makes a contract solid, some of the best practices, and then, of course, if you have any questions or that you'd like to pose, certainly can do so. And then we'll also give you information on how to get in touch with us if you want to follow up regarding any contracts that you have. So I want to tell you a little bit about me, and my name is Jenni Chavis. I'm a native of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and that's where my practice is located. And so not only do we look to serve clients by, assisting them with drafting contracts or starting their businesses, but we really look to empower people. We want you to be able to have the information that you need to be the best business owner that you can be, to run the nonprofit that you're organizing, or perhaps it is just making sure that all of your affairs are in order, such as estate planning or assisting loved ones through estate administration. So if you feel that you're in the need for any of those things, please make sure that you reach out to us. We would love to have the chance to chat with you and to see if we would make a good fit with working together. All right, so why contracts matter. So let's talk a little bit about what makes a good contract. It is something that has terms, conditions, and policies that are clear. It ensures that both sides, both parties, or all parties involved have a clear understanding of what is expected of them as far as what they have to perform, and then also clear expectation of what they're supposed to receive and when they're supposed to receive it. Your contract, it's like the boundaries for your business. It protects your business as you are relating and connecting and engaging with other people. It is a way in which you are outlining how far your business will go, and it will prevent others from interfering or going beyond their boundaries into your business. It also will help to avoid any costly disputes. If everyone is on the same page at the beginning, it will absolutely do away with the need for litigation on the back end or as the relationship continues to grow. I'll give you an example of why a contract could be necessary. So imagine a freelance graphic designer took on a project for a startup business without a contract. And the client kept asking for just one more revision. We want to change just one more thing. And when the invoice came, the client refused to pay the full amount, claiming that the work wasn't complete. With a solid contract, the designer could have set very clear revision limits and payment terms, and that would have saved a lot of stress, a lot of the back and forth, and it would show when the work is actually complete. For every business, you can find a place where contracts would be necessary. So I'm going to give you a couple examples of some must-have contracts. Client or service agreements. So, if you're a web designer, you've agreed to build a site for a client, but didn't define, how many revisions. We just used that example in the last slide were included. The client could keep asking for things, but when you have a service agreement spelling out what you're delivering, then that can absolutely keep it clear as far as the expectation of the client. And also it gives you clear directives on the work that you have to perform. Vendor contracts. This will cover pricing, delivery deadlines, and what happens if something goes wrong. So if you have a bakery who ordered, say, 500 custom mugs, but when they arrived, the logo was completely smudged, the vendor refused to refund because there was no written quality agreement. And so what's the lesson? What's the takeaway there? Always include clear quality standards if you are a vendor or if you are working with vendors. One type of contract that comes up often, at least with my clients, is employment and independent contractor agreements. They are absolutely two different things. And because the status as an employee is different from someone's status as an independent contractor, that has a lot of implications regarding how they're paid. What is the expectation of an employee versus expectations of independent contractors? And this could protect you from misclassification issues where you might run afoul of some state agencies like the Department of Labor and Industry. So let's say a business hired a freelance writer without a contract. And after the job was done, the freelancer claimed that they were an employee and demanded benefits. Well, a contract, an independent contractor contract, in that case, would absolutely clarify that they had an independent status, and it would prevent the headache of now having this freelancer demanding employee benefits. Let's see, another example, another situation where contracts would be necessary could be non-disclosure agreements. And it keeps your ideas and your trade secrets and your intellectual property safe and sound, which is what you want to do. So if you have a startup who shared their, say they were developing an app and they shared that idea without an NDA, a year later, the investor launched a suspiciously similar app. There was no NDA in place, so therefore there would be no legal protection. And lastly, partnership agreements. Now, here's the interesting thing. You know, when we start businesses with friends or family members, we have this great expectation. We're going to make all this money. We're going to do great things. We're going to impact this industry. And you set off with all this fire and you're very zealous, you know, in getting the business started. And a lot of times, friends and family members going into business do not consider the need for a partnership agreement. But if you're doing business with someone else, it does not matter who the someone else is. I don't care if you've known them since kindergarten. I don't care if it's your sister. You have to have an agreement in place because at some point, your ideas, your roles, your expectations could diverge. And then when there's nothing in place, you do not have a clear roadmap for how to deal when partners don't agree. It happens all the time, especially once you start making money. People have different visions and ideas regarding how businesses should continue on in that situation. So let's say you have a partnership with two friends started a coffee shop. One wanted to leave and they fought over who owned what of the business. And a simple partnership agreement would have spelled out ownership, responsibility. It would have spelled out any capital investments at the beginning of the business at startup, and then also what are the terms of the person leaving. So that's a couple must-have contracts that businesses should have in place. Some things for you to consider. All right, so what makes a solid contract? Being clear with your language. So I know we live in a time where everyone wants to DIY and you can Google, you know, a contract, what have you. And just because it says contract at the top and you put in information about money and terms does not mean that the contract is clearly spelling out what your intentions are or the intentions of the other party. You have to make certain that there are no vague terms, that you're not agreeing to something that you don't understand. You want to avoid confusion. You want to be specific on the important matters, such as payments. When are they going to happen? How are payments going to be collected? What happens if a payment is late? You want to have a contract that spells out what happens when there is a dispute. How are those issues going to be handled? Is it something that's going to have to go to court to be litigated? Or perhaps you might agree to mediation or arbitration. Those are things that you would want to have spelled out within your documents. So common mistakes that people make is relying upon handshake deals. And I see this specifically with nonprofit organizations. I see it with churches who are entering agreements with other people to get services done. And they think because they're a church, they're just going to trust and believe that things are going to work out right. And they just have this handshake or so-called gentleman's agreement. And it is absolutely detrimental. And it's going to cost you headache, stress, and potentially money because the terms of the agreement are not spelled out. A common mistake, like I just said, copying contracts off the internet without tailoring it to your business, to your needs, to the needs of the relationship, and then not understanding what's in the boilerplate, the Googled internet contract. Another mistake is forgetting any type of renewal or termination clauses. If you're walking into this business relationship with the expectation it's only going to last for 2-3 years, the other party doesn't have that expectation and the contract says nothing or there's no contract in place, then how are you going to get out of that particular business relationship? That has not been spelled out. So that's something to keep in mind. And then, of course, not setting clear deadlines on deliverables. If the work is supposed to start on a certain date, and that's the expectation, and that's what you guys spoke about, then make sure that's in the contract. There's a principle that we learned in law school about, it's within the four corners. Now, whatever is within or on the pages of the contract, those are the terms of the deal. Just because you then had a follow-up conversation or you had initial conversation about certain terms or certain understanding, and those items never make the contract, they're not a part of the deal. They're not a part of the actual agreement because it never made it to the paper. So make sure that you're very clear and that there's no confusion on either side, that there's a meeting of the minds when it comes to the formation of the contract. So best practices for managing your contracts: put everything in writing, even small agreements. It avoids the drama later. You want to review contracts with a lawyer before signing. I know that sounds self-serving, like, oh, you're just saying that because you're a lawyer. I'm just saying it because I get a lot of phone calls about business litigation, and there aren't a lot of attorneys that do it, or the expense of going into litigation for businesses is hefty. It is very, very expensive. So the cost of getting with an attorney ahead of time to review or to draft your contract is a fraction of the cost that you will pay in litigation for a dispute that could have been avoided. Stay organized. You want to make sure that you keep copies of your agreements. You track the deadlines and information within the agreements. And also, if you're going through the process of negotiating the terms of the contracts, going back and forth, make sure you're organized so that by the time you get to whatever the final draft is, that all of the revisions have been contained in that final draft, and you didn't, miss a step where, the final draft didn't contain the last set of revisions, if you will. So when you're going through the negotiation process, make sure that you have all that information transferred over. So that's it. That is just a little primer, a little 101 on contracts and things for you to consider. And I hope that you will start incorporating them judiciously and efficiently into your business. So things that you want to keep out for is, and keep in mind, is how often should contracts be updated or reviewed? Well, as the nature of the business grows, changes, or the relationship should change, then you need to look at revising the contracts. And you want to make sure the contracts perhaps have a clause in there regarding when updates would be made. You want to make sure the contracts have information about breach, like what are the steps to take if a contract is breached? Is there an opportunity for one side to remedy the breach? And how much time will be given for that remedy to take place? Something else, a question that comes up often is, how can I address the potential risks in a contract before they become a problem? So you want to make sure that you are at least are aware of what risks are listed in the contract, some things that could become a problem later on. And that way you can address them as you are negotiating or revising the contract, or at least you are aware of what pitfalls to avoid in the process. So I just want to thank you so much for tuning in, for watching. If you're watching us not in real time. So here's my email address, how to get in touch with me, how to get in touch with the office. Rachel is our client service director. She's amazing. And so she would love to assist you with perhaps getting an appointment set up. If you want more information, you can go to our website. For some of you, you've been to our website, and that's how you found this video. If you have any additional questions, certainly you can use the website to reach out to us. We have a really robust tab with a lot of blog posts regarding information for business owners and some other legal issues. So please review that information there as well. And of course, on social media, you can find us there. We would love to connect that way also. So thank you so much for joining us. We hope that this information has been helpful to you and is something that you're looking to do and to use with your own business, and that you can find something to practically apply. All right. So with that, thank you so much for just joining in, and hope you have a great day. Bye.